MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had a cow, E-I-E-I-O. With a moo-moo here and a moo-moo there, here a moo, there a moo, everywhere a moo-moo. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Hello, this is Dan Ripke of Ripke Music Studio. I wanted to make a video today aimed at preschool teachers, kindergarten teachers, daycare teachers, anyone who's teaching and working with young children who might want to use song in their curriculum or during their day. It could be just parents or grandparents too who like to sing for their children but might want to accompany themselves on a guitar. This is a really quick and easy way you can take a pretty inexpensive guitar, an instrument you might have sitting around, and actually start using it. And it may encourage you to study the instrument further. You don't have to. The idea is we're going to tune the guitar to an open tuning so that when we strum it, it makes a chord. That chord would usually look like this in standard tuning. In this tuning, that's all you do. We're going to do 3 chords in this particular video. 3 chords are the open G chord, so the guitar is tuned to an open G. Has the notes G, B, and D, which make a G chord. Then pressing the strings down on the 5th fret makes a C chord. That would normally look like this. Much easier to do this. And you don't have to hit all the strings. You can maybe use just the first 3. Just strum the ones that you're pressing down with your finger. You'll see how many you can press down. Your finger will get stronger as you try it. 3rd chord is a D. It would normally look like this. Play like that, or like this. So what would normally take the time to learn all of this, and all of this, and all of this, and moving them within a split second as the chords change in the song, you can do like this. Much easier, or using all 6 strings. So that's an open G tuning using the chords G, C, and D. Now you may wonder, where can I get an inexpensive guitar that I don't want to spend a lot of money if I'm just using it once in a while for class. You can surprisingly find some pretty decent guitars for this purpose at garage sales, thrift sales, online. You might be able to find them or looking at local garage sale type sites in your area. The one thing you want to look for, if you're able to try the guitar out before you do it, even if it doesn't sound right because the strings are out of tune and maybe you're buying it from a person or you're getting it from a thrift shop and they don't know how to tune it. You just want to make sure the strings are fairly close to the fretboard. They're not so high up off the wood, the fretboard part of the guitar, that you cannot press them down. If you cannot press them down at all, or it's too difficult to even press a few down, then I would not get that guitar. It's not going to work for this purpose, even though it may be very cheap. But I've seen many that will work fine for as cheap as $20, $15. You can get one that will work. Just make sure the strings aren't too high off the fretboard. Now on to tuning the guitar. So if you find a guitar at a thrift store, it'll be in just the tuning that somebody donated it at, or maybe even a secondhand store, and maybe nobody in the store will know how to tune it. If you get one at a music store, an inexpensive one, they can show you how to tune it to open G. And at that point, you could probably buy a tuner from the store. Or if you have gotten one used and you take it into a music store to get the tuner and to show them how to tune it, they can use your tuner that you bought so that you can go back home and try it with your tuner, and they can show you how to do it. There are lots of tuning apps you can use. If you have a smartphone or a laptop that has apps or even any kind of software, you can type in free guitar tuner, and there will be many that come up. I use a couple I like to use. For standard tuning, I like to use the Guitar Tuna. That's guitar space tuna, T-U-N-A, like tuna fish. That one is set up, the interface for standard tuning. It probably has a chromatic tuning setting in it. The Pano tuner, or Pano, I'm not sure, it's P-A-N-O. That's it, P-A-N-O. That's a free tuner, and that's chromatic. So you can tune to any note on that. Those are going to be a little easier to use for the open tunings. Whereas the other ones will kind of want to confine you to the standard tuning, because that's what you'll be doing, and you have to find settings in there to change it. So the piano just hears the note and tells you if you're right. Generally with the tuners, you can look at the instructions to tell you how to use it, but you're generally trying to get the note to center on the right spot. So it'll tell you if it's too sharp or too flat. Once again, the music store, there's probably plenty of YouTube videos to help you with tuners. So the guitar in standard tuning. Let's just say, for example, you get it, you have somebody they tune it in standard tuning for you while they're strumming a few chords. You want to change it to your open G. Standard tuning is generally, or is, E for the first string, which is the thinnest, the highest. B is the second string. G is the third string. D is the fourth string. A is the fifth string. And E is the sixth string. Now, to get an open G chord, we want the notes G, B, and D. We could really do the strings in any combination, as long as if you just grab the guitar and you tune and say it said F, you go, okay, I'm going to go, or say it says A, I'm going to go down to G. Say the next one says E, I'm going to go down to D. It'll sound like a G chord, as long as you get those notes to line up. And you can do it, it doesn't matter how you do it. But for standard tuning, the standard tuning notes, the second string is B, third string is G, fourth string is D. That's G, B, D. Those are notes we want to have to make the G chord. So we can leave those alone. The kind of the middle three strings here. You see that? These ones. Now we can go to the first string. That is an E in standard tuning. So we're going to drop it down or make it lower to get to the D. And this one is already to the D. Okay, we'll drop it down to the D. So that is one of the letters in the G chord. These three we could leave alone. So if I just strum those first three like that, and I have a nice G chord. Now the fifth string is usually an A, so I'm going to drop that down or make the string looser. We'll let you hear what that sounds like. We're going to turn it back to an A here. So here's an A, so pretty close. Now if I want to make it go down to a B, down to a G, it'll sound like this. Now I'm just going to use another note on the guitar to compare it to. You hear the sound of that? Going down. There we go. Sixth string is an E, so just like the first string being an E, I'm going to drop that down to a D. Let's let you hear what that sounds like. I'm going to bring it back up to E. Okay. Now, hear that? Now it's a D. So now I can strum all six strings. I have an open G chord. So the source I'm using for the music for Old MacDonald Had a Farm is a book called The Heritage Songster, and mine's rather beat up, as you can see. But it's by Leon and Lynn Dallin, Dallin. And you can get these online. And I believe on page 61 is our song that we're going to try, and that's Old MacDonald Had a Farm. So here's what it would look like on here. And if it looks intimidating because you don't read music, you don't have to. The only thing I'm looking at is this right here. That's the G, so that's my open strum where I'm not pressing any strings down. This is a C, so that's where I press strings down on the 5th fret. Goes back to a G, so that's open. This D7. Basically our D is where I'm pressing down the strings on the 7th fret. And that's all we need to do this song and thousands of others. Some are only one chord, some are two chords. You don't have to play all the chords. You can just play the G chord if you want. But anything will be more than nothing if you're trying to accompany yourself. You can also go on Google. If you go and you search Old MacDonald Had a Farm chords, you could find versions of it, and it will probably give the lyrics and then the chord name or the letter up above it, G, C, or D. You may not find one right away that's in G, so you might add to your search Old MacDonald Had a Farm chords in G. So, things like that to find it. Eventually you'll find one. I think it's most commonly in G anyway. It just depends on where it's comfortable for you to sing it. This particular tuning is just for open G, so maybe check out other videos on other tunings or talk to your music store about how to do other tunings to find out what fits your voice the best. I don't want to get into too much music theory, but what's basically happening here is we're playing a song in the key of G. So think of G as home plate. That's the main note, main letter. Now, in Western music, we base our chords on the major scale. So the major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and then do again. But do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti is 7 notes. So there's 7 notes. So for any key, you're playing a song and you have 7 chord choices. So G is the 1. And so if you just count up, we'll get to C and D. So G, A, B, we'll do it this way. G, A, B, C is your 4th chord in the key. So it's called the 4 chord. So G is 1, C is 4. And if we go to D, we get G, A, B, C, D. It's the 5 chord. So in these open tunings, no matter what key we're in, the 1 chord is always the open strum. The 4 chord is always the 5th fret, and the 5 chord is always the 7th fret. So no matter what chord you have it tuned to, it'll always be those same 3 frets for these 3 frets for these kinds of songs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had a cow, E-I-E-I-O.